post about it, tag us. We want to continue the conversations we start at these gatherings. That's why we're here, is to create these platforms where we can discuss, where we can learn, where we can grow, right? As activists, as people, citizens of this society that we're in. You know, to be a change maker, you have to do something. And I think when we are interacting together and we are kind of like igniting the fire, you know, whatever cause you're for, it helps to have this community. So yeah, super excited. And now I would like to introduce our special guest. So tonight, like I said, we are privileged to have someone who is very knowledgeable in her field and who has done amazing work already in the digital space, especially focusing on health. And she will probably do a better justice in introducing what she works on and what she does. But her name is Bongi, and I would like to invite you, Bongi, to come and educate us on using digital platforms, digital tools to effect change and to influence the world around us. Let's give her a warm round of applause.
This looks so cool. How do you hold this? This looks so cool. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone, or is it good evening? My name is Bongi Ndlovu. Okay, great. Oh, there we go. Sounds better. My name is Bongi Ndlovu. I am originally from Durban, but I'm now based in Johannesburg full-time. And my work, I currently work for an international organization called FAQYOU Health, and what we do is that we provide an answer frequently asked questions about love and sex. But I'm going to dive deeper in terms of why we do that, because we all know the current state of the country. And it also just sort of links up with the conversation that we are having today to say, how do we use the digital spaces to influence change, you know? So I've got a few pointers, and I also would like to open up for a good question and answer session, so there's just not a monologue. But the main aim of today is to have you living, feeling like where you are right now, you have the power to influence change. Whether you currently are a social media person, or you are that cool TikTok mom, or you are that cool young person who's interested in sports, you right now, where you are, have the power and potential to really affect and influence change in your current community. So let's just take a step back. You know, I'm about to age myself now. How many of us remember the days of the internet? Are we here? Where are my people? Yes, yes, I'm not the only one. You know the funniest part about that stage in life? There used to be a book that you could get from the post office that had all our addresses and all our telephone numbers. I'm just like, were there not stalkers back then? I mean, how could we have everyone? Like, you could literally go and look for someone, and you'll not only find their address, but you'll also find their contact number. How far have we come, guys, you know? So it just shows how much we've grown, how much the world has changed, and how also there's like a danger side when we talk to the digital spaces. So our work and what we do is, how do we then use these digital spaces to, first of all, educate young people in terms of the power that it has, but more importantly, how do we get young people to understand that they can also make a difference that they're looking for, right? And so when we talk about the past again, I remember the times of before Google. Remember those when it was still Yahoo, Google, what's happening, we're not sure. But Google prevailed, you know, and Google currently right now is getting its behind kicked by what? We know the social media people are taking over. In fact, the last statistics that I saw said that most Gen Z will now TikTok an issue instead of Google it. Did you know that? I think the statistics, it says 84%, which shows that even us now, as the millennials, we thought the internet was cool. There's actually other platforms that are a growing platform where young people are not only sourcing information, but they're also able to be a part of what's currently happening and make their opinions open. Another plain example of also how social media and the digital spaces have impacted our lives. Before, an issue that used to happen in Japan or other part of the world would not really affect us that much, right? But in this day and age, we know what is happening real time in other countries as well, which means it has forged connections, it has made the world smaller. I no longer need to be able to travel to the other part of the world to know what the burning issues are, and to also be able to just give impact where I am, right? And that is where we're saying that the social media spaces, the digital spaces, are really a growing platform where each and every single one of us can play a bigger role in terms of how do we influence change. Now let's come back to the country as it is right now. Many of us have either seen, experienced, or know of issues that are currently huge challenges. And most of the time, like the event that I went to a few weeks ago, the main question was, but Bongi, how do I play a role? You know, how do I do it in such a way that I'm not making the issue better? What should I not do? You know, that was also another question. And one of the best answers to that, I heard Lele say, in terms of what not to do, is just a common decency thing. So when we talk about a common decency thing, we're saying, okay, taking pictures of people who have not given consent, patting people and posting it, that's not what we mean when we say digital spaces for social influence, no. What we are saying is, how can you do it authentically? How can you amplify the work that's currently being done? And how can you also maybe start a cause if that's what you want to, right? But not all of us have the same capacity or even the same know-how. And that is where supporting organizations such as Viva Konakwa, such as FAQ Health, or any other organization that is currently also working within the digital space, that is where you can make a difference. Okay, so I think we got too deep too quickly. And where I wanted to also touch on is how big an impact that you can do, just for example, in your home, right? So let's say that you are a social media influencer. Let's say that that is your ambition, you know? I currently work with young people who are content creators, and I was lucky enough that we were able to source them to be a part of the program, but it needed for them to be online, sharing a message, showing their interest for me to attract them and say, okay, that's a young person that I'd love to work with. Okay, so young people as well, I would like to challenge you that your content not only be about groove or the next big thing or whatever, because we as young millennial HR people look at your social media handles before we hire you, right? And I can't tell you how many times I've had in the interview, in fact, when I was looking for the creators, where we'd have a young person saying, oh, no, but Bongi, I'm passionate about this, I do workshops, but when I went to online, it was giving baddie vibes. I'm like, nice. It's nice, né? So it also speaks to how then do you use the social media platforms to authentically show what you're passionate about and for it to help you to attain certain opportunities. That is what we mean when we say, how do you influence change, okay? And then another point that we want to talk about is how social media has currently evolved from being just a social media platform where we're connecting and chatting and getting to know old people to a platform that can inspire something as big as the Arab Spring. That is the big impact that social media has. And I think here in Southern Africa, we still are yet to maximize its opportunities. We are still yet to maximize what we can achieve there. When we talk about the biggest digital spaces and growing a community, what we're looking for are not extraordinary young people who are doing amazing things. We are looking for you, you're the everyday person. Because South Africa has turned into a country where just surviving every day and making the best of what it is that you do is something to be admired, you know? So you might be thinking, oh, okay, no, I'm not doing anything amazing. But your work and what you put in on online spaces is actually inspiring the next young person to say, oh, she's doing it, I can be able to do it too. Okay, so it's very important to look at yourself in a way to say, my social media platform, I'm using it for a good cause. I'm using it to inspire others. I'm also using it to send through a message, all right? So one of the few questions that I always get when we talk about social media for social change is, how do I choose a cause? How do I choose a brand that aligns with me? How do I make sure, because you know that some causes are very polarizing as well, that if I choose a cause, it will not then, turn away some people or offend some people. And I think that's something that is very important to do, to know it's okay, when I'm choosing a cause, how will it impact my brand? And that is why we're saying that social media platforms, as much as you've had them, I mean, I've had young people go through a class with me, and then afterwards they've deleted their Facebook and they're starting afresh, and we're like, Sis B, we're doing this now, right? And that's okay. Or you can just change your private posting to private settings where only a few people will see it. It's up to you. But it's important to note that what you say online and on your platform does impact you in the future. So many of us know of instances where previous Miss South Africa candidates get told what they said years ago and they get taken out of pageants, because these days anti-bullying is a big thing, right? So even if you had posted something when you were in high school, it still can haunt you years later, right? So be very careful in terms of how you communicate, what issues that you choose to amplify, and if it's something that will not hurt your future reputation or maybe the brand that you're trying to build, all right? And let's talk deeper now when we talk about social media platforms. Which one do I choose, okay? When we talk about young people, and those are always my people, because we normally work with Gen Z, the first one we always say is LinkedIn, guys. If you don't have LinkedIn, whether you are an organization, you are a restaurant, you are a personal individual, LinkedIn is the first space that links you up with other professional individuals, and therefore how you show up in that space is also very different. The profile picture that you put on that space is going to be very different. This video that's currently happening is going to be on my LinkedIn, because that is what we do. We need to constantly be promoting ourselves. We need to constantly be showing our future employers, our future collaborators, our future stakeholders of what we are capable of when we talk about work. And this is the platform that we do it. Then there's my favorite one, Instagram, the IG people. So the whole Meta family, at some point we thought that the whole world was going to be Zuckerberg and there was no one else who was going to ever take over until TikTok. But yeah, what we're seeing is that in the metaverse as well, or the meta world, not the metaverse, in the meta world we have WhatsApp, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, and Instagram is more of a lifestyle one. My advice is always have a private Instagram, guys. I have one of those. It's very private. The people that follow me there, I know them. And then we have the work one, because work also should ideally be linked up to the lifestyle that you're living, right? And then in terms of Facebook, Facebook still has the highest reach when we're talking about young people. But most people are not there to communicate like they were in the past. Now it's more for reels, it's more for information. And I think that can help you as a business as well if you're trying to reach more young people, if you're trying to send information. I heard of a beautiful campaign that's planning to roll out. For me, that would be an ideal platform to roll out on. And then there is WhatsApp. Yeah. So WhatsApp initially started up with us communicating. Now there's communities. And I don't think South Africa is using WhatsApp communities well or enough. So FAQ Health was actually part of the pilot program with Meta to trial out communities and how it worked. And how we were able to join that program was because initially we were used to do workshops, face-to-face workshops and health literacy workshops to help young people make better decisions and get access to sexual and mental health. But we found that every time we traveled to a workshop, we'd need to travel and leave and go to another place. And those type of conversation need consistent engaging and continuous intervention because it's a behavioral change issue, right? So what we did is that we developed a digital retention program in that every single young person who attended our workshop then got to join our WhatsApp community, and every day we'll continue the conversation depending on what it is that they wanted to talk about, right? And that's just part of it. I've seen people having conversations about events. I've seen meetings happen. I've been parts of national campaigns where the meeting is happening on WhatsApp and everyone is organizing everything. In fact, I remember when the July lootings happened, most of the messages, they were like mobilizing people. We got WhatsApps. And you're like, hey, where's this coming from? You know? But also WhatsApp is a platform that you need to be very careful of because there is a lot of misinformation. So when we say that, please make sure that you verify what it is that you share before you share, especially these voice notes. Remember during COVID, we had so many voice notes about the vaccine, about what it did, about people growing pieces of bodies that we don't know. And you're like, who's making these voice notes and sending them, you know? So part of the problem is that, okay, we get them, but we also share them blindly before verifying it. So what we say is that just to make sure misinformation stops with you, make sure that you verify what it is that you are receiving. And normally if it's like news clips or something that is news related, there needs to be like an HTTPS website that is linked to it that you can verify it. If that's not there, then you need to also just try and see and Google outside before sharing it. Otherwise, you're also part of the problem, right? And then in terms of spreading social messages, we found that statuses works very well. You guys have seen that new platform, right? It also works very well. But as we said, WhatsApp communities really help you to engage with your constituency. You can poll them, you can have a conversation. We also use them for focus groups where we want information that is specific and we want to access them and think about what is the next best idea or the next thing that we should be shooting content on, okay? And then I'm going to close off with TikTok, but there's many other platforms as well. We've had mixed it in the past, for those who are old enough. Y'all know Mix It. Where are my oldies? Eh? Y'all remember Mix It. But there's TikTok, guys. TikTok, we started off thinking, people are just dancing. What's happening? You know, and there were challenges, that reached the world, like the ice bucket challenge. We thought, what's happening there? But you found that challenge raised so much money. And we are only now waking up to the potential that is TikTok. Why do I say this? I say this because TikTok has changed the way we see social media. In that in South Africa, we used to say the #1 barrier for young people accessing information is what? Data cost. We said data is too expensive. But with TikTok, they defied that. In fact, the most people who are consuming TikTok right now, on my page anyway, they're 18 to 24. And you're like, where are they getting the data? Because they couldn't get data to download the resource online. So it shows that young people do have the data, but because it's so limited, they're very selective on what they choose to consume. So then our responsibility is, how do we make the information accessible? How do we make the information fit their attention span? And how do we make the information what they call clickbait? What's interesting so that they don't scroll up? So how many of you have been at night and we're just scrolling up, scrolling up, scrolling up, scrolling up, scrolling up? That's us, ne? So how do we catch you in the next 5 or 10 seconds? And I think that's the one thing that we've learned to do very well at FAQ, but we've also been able to do that very well on a topic that is traditionally taboo, first of all. And second of all, it's a topic that when I normally speak to a young person like this, they go, there they go again. They're talking about condoms, now I'm bored, you know? So, and that for us, I think as FAQ Health has been our really unique USP. Because what we're learning is that not only is it possible to generate content that is like that, but it's also possible to get them to provide referrals, to engage, to DM us if there's emergencies. So traditionally, an organization such as ours would be based in the clinic, and that is where you'd meet us outside, and we explain to you the services and all of that. But the problem is young people are not going to the clinics. Huh? So now we needed to be very, what's the word? Ingenuitive. We need to be very creative in finding ways to get the information to young people. And as we said, we started off with workshops as well. That is the traditional method being used here in South Africa. But the current challenge as well is that going and running workshops across the country, just South Africa alone, is very costly. And two, as I said, there's not so much of a behavioral change or impact indicator at the end of it. But online, what we did find is that by creating just one video that was well directed, that had snappy information, fun graphics, what happened is that we were able to reach over 45,000 young people with just one video. And we're like, okay, this might be onto something. Then we did another video and another video. And we're like, how can we change? And so we looked for other partners as well to say, how do we make them more interesting? Then we found out different partners, like the best video that we have right now currently has 1.5 million reaches. And that video actually got us a Lion King Award in the Europe. That was so proud of us. But it was in collaboration with Tankwa Town, Africa Burn. Yeah? And what we did at Africa Burn was that we provided a platform where not only can we be there and provide sexual health services and provide advice and conversation, but we're also there to burn a statue that spoke about what we talk about when we say, let's end the stigma to HIV and AIDS, right? And this is the type of work that we look forward to going to. How do we create content that wins awards? How do we create content that so many young people consume, to the fact that it not only changes their lives, but they also share it to the young people, because it's not only entertaining, but it's also informational, and you're able to access support via our DMs afterwards. Now that's just FAQ Health. The question is, how can you do the same? One of the first questions that I wanted to answer today is, how can I, just as a normal person, also do the same? And your goal might not be to start something different. As I said, we are very different. Some people are passionate about that. Had a great idea there that we were discussing. And so many people do come up with ideas where we're like, how then can we take your idea and use the social media spaces to amplify it, first of all? Or how can you be a part of a movement that you really support? I think those are the two ways. So you either start it from scratch, and you go, okay, this is my cause, I want to do this, I want to see who I can collaborate with and I can grow it. Or you can even partner with organizations such as the one that I'm partnering with today, Viva Conagua, where we both have the same goals of saying, how do we reach more young people so that we provide holistic support for them, in that they can access water and sanitation, but also if there's other campaigns such as the menstrual health campaign that is coming up. And these type of collaborations come through from wanting to use the digital spaces for change. And one thing that I've learned is that once you have the idea of saying, this is what I want to do, the partners and the potential stakeholders somehow just show up. And they go, oh, what are you doing, Chris? Do you usually do this for life? Okay, can you come through for us, you know? And those are the type of conversations that would never happen if you don't first start with, this is what I want to do. All right, so my main goal today is to make sure that at least each and every single one who's in this room to understand that you have the power within your own Facebook, within your own social media spaces, or if maybe you're a bigger entity and you're a private sector and you're like, oh, well, how can I support? Like, for example, this lovely restaurant. This is a great way to support a cause, you know? I loved even the fundraising with the orders. I was like, okay, we're gonna order drinks after this, because why? When I order my drink, it's going for a good cause, you know? And those are the opportunities that we need to identify, first of all, but also see how we can stop looking at the bottom line and also start focusing on the social impact of this beautiful country of ours. Because I tell you what, South Africa is beautiful, but it's also not sustainable in the terms of how we're living. What do I mean when I say it's not sustainable? I live in a world where, okay, it's Rosebank, okay, it's nice, yes. But 20 years ago, it wasn't. I was staying in Lamontville, it was very different, and there's certain decisions that I made that if I didn't find a program such as my one, I wouldn't be where I am today. So it takes programs that have a social cause over and above the bottom line for it to start driving change in this country. And it takes just one program, finding a Bongi in Lamonvo, to see her standing here today in Cape Town speaking to people about digital change. Who's the next Bongi, and how can you help that happen? Okay? So I think in closing, before I open up for a Q&A session, the closing part of this conversation is just to remind you that you have the power. You also have the power to do good or the power to damage. And what happens in social media places is that because we are behind a cell phone and most people don't find you, it's very easy to say that you are going for a cause all the way to the other side where you're now being the person who's causing harm. Right? So be very careful in terms of your support to say, am I not harming? Am I not harming my brand? Am I not harming the community? Or how are my words actually impacting and making sure that people, it is making a change rather than causing harm? And then in closing, we say, I think the best thing that you can ever do for yourself is seeing how amazing the tools that you have in front of you. So many times I reach young people to say, oh, Bongi, but how did you do it? Where do I start? It starts with how you see yourself. It starts with how you portray yourself out there. It starts with something as simple as your social media platforms. Okay? If you're a young person that says, I'm passionate about soccer, for example, but when we go online, we see something else, then that doesn't speak to what it is that you're passionate about. So what they normally mean is fake it until you make it. So you need to be constantly showing your passion. You need to be constantly showing the future that you want to live. You can even start stalking companies that you love or that you'd like to be a part of. Following causes, donating to causes. I mean, many of us are just looking for donations. That is the simplest way that you can be involved in terms of supporting a cause. So it doesn't really take a lot, but it takes a lot of your attention, your time and passion, and also to just be behind something 100%. So when you are currently at our middle age time and you're like, okay, what did I do with my life? You can passionately say, like, this is what I stood for, these are the young people that are affected, and this is how I made a difference in this country. Thank you so much. I'd like to open for questions.
It's 7 o'clock.
Oh, 30 minutes. Okay, do you have questions? I don't know if you have questions because you still have a little bit more time.
Can we just give her another round of applause? Please. That was amazing.
Thank you.
I must just say, I love how you just say it like it's at the top of your head. Like you live it. Basically, you've been doing this. I don't know, how long have you been doing this for?
Should I age myself again?
No, just asking.
No, since 2013. I've been doing this since 2013.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, so does anyone have any questions for Bongi?
You have a question?
Oh, great. Okay. So we're going to use this mic for questions. But can you come to the mic, if you don't mind? Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So, good evening, guys. My name is Andan Tlama. So I think, thank you firstly for the very well thought out presentation, and it was really an eye-opener, right? And I think I'll speak specifically, and I'll personalize my question a little bit. I try to use social media quite extensively in what I do. So I'm also a DJ. As much as I'm a professional, I'm full-time employed by Amazon, but on the side, I play on weekends. And you mentioned two key points, right? Firstly, that brands and other partners you can partner with on social media and ensuring that they have the same voice. And you mentioned a beautiful example between yourself and Viva Conagua and how that's a very working well relationship. What I struggle to do then is finding those similar relationships that do not only speak to music and the groove, but also speaking to the fact that, for example, we need to have conversations like this and then maybe play some music later on, right? So how can we ensure that we find brands that speak to, number one, there are important conversations and important work we need to do. Secondly, then we can have fun and have drinks and carry on with our day. I think it's the first question I'd like to understand is how to find those brands. And then secondly and lastly, I think those relationships, once you find them, how do you cultivate them? How do you make sure they work? And how sure that it's mutually beneficial so that it's a long and sustaining relationship? Thank you.
Okay, great question.
Thank you, DJ.
Yeah, very great questions. I think the first part of how do you find brands that align with your cause and vision, what I can say for a fact is that it's not an easy task. It's also not something that you would give up on just the first couple of times. If I can give you an example, the FAQ Health, for example, when we first of all, our organization is called FAQ Health because we answer frequently asked questions about sex and love, but most people will just say fuck health, which also works for us because we talk about sexual health, you know? So yeah, it's attending events like these. It's putting yourself out there. It's changing the areas that we go because I'm a retired groovist. Yes, retired, yes, no, that place is not good. Yes, the wow there at the back, yes. No, it's just not good for me, not good, because I want bigger things now, you know? So I'm the girl that knows Cubana in Cape Town and Cubana in Pretoria, and after some time, it just starts being the same Cubana, you know? But what happens is that once you start positioning yourself to say, I want bigger things, then opportunities as well come through. And I think what happens with Groove, and I know this happens because as I said, I'm a retired groovist, is that we have amazing conversations at night, and then the following day, no one follows up. Yeah, and the one thing that I always do, if you know me, is that I will follow up. You know, I think I texted you, Lele, you texted me, but I met Lele at another, and Carla and Pelisa, and I was like, oh, these are my people. And they were my people, you know what I mean? So it starts as easy as that, just opening up to new opportunities. Being here, I mean, today is an afternoon that you could easily be at home with your family, doing whatever it is, but because you're looking for opportunities, these places such as these, you can meet so many people and network with. And the more you speak about what it is that you're passionate about, the more you start finding people who are more or less aligned. But that process takes fine-tuning. And the point is, how do you persevere? Because so many people are just not going to get it. I can't. So after the morning conversation in Groove, they're like, what are you talking about? Yesterday we were just having fun. I'm like, no, I was serious about saving penguins, you know? So you also start finding your people if you really become serious about your cause that you're passionate about. Because I tell you, there are people who are as passionate, and once you fine-tune it, you can even just meet a person in the mall. Like in my flight here, I met a guy and we started talking. I was like, oh, he works in the mining industry. Do you know the mining sector has such issues with sexual health? And we had the whole 2-hour conversation about how we can impact using them as the private sector, you know? And it's about living your brand as well, yeah. So the second conversation is, how do you maintain the relationships? Okay, so firstly, it needs to have a communal vision. So we can't be wanting different things, right? I work a lot with the private sector because I believe that the CSI industry in this country can do so much more than what it's currently doing. So my passion is, how can we get the private sector to invest more in the same country that it's currently reaping rewards from? And that's always my thinking when I look at the private sector, right? But in thinking like that, I know to them the bottom line is the issue. And with me, the social cause and the bottom line are the issue, right? So if I'm in a meeting and I can tell already that right now we don't have the same common vision, then there isn't much authentic work that's going to happen in the future. Work might happen, but it might be not as impactful as if both people were passionate about social impact, right? And there might be a unicorn, because I tell you, social entrepreneurs are very few and far between. But when you find one, it's so amazing. It works so much simpler. No one is trying to get the other one's back or get money, then hide it, because things happen. Ne? And that's the part where you go, okay, how do I then build the relationship? I would say find a person with the same, or people with the same communal vision. Find the people with the same work ethic and values as well. where you're not finding yourself working for free and you're like, I was supposed to get paid. And you're like, but it's volunteering, you know? So discuss those conversations openly. And then lastly, show up as authentically as possible. Because remember, the bottom line is your social impact cause. All right, thank you.
Amazing, amazing. Do you have a question too? Okay, come through. I think let's take this as an opportunity, actually. If you have a question, come up and actually introduce yourself and what you do, if you have a cause, whatever. I'm sorry on crutches, but you're most welcome. We'll wait for you, we'll clap or whatever, but we do want you to take this opportunity to introduce yourself, what your cause is. You never know, you might meet someone who, again, who can connect with your cause. Okay, cool.
Thanks, Tendi. Hi, everyone. Sis Bongiwe, thank you so much. This is an amazing event. Whoever organized this did an incredible job. Viva Con Agua, South Africa. Amazing. My question, I think, is a simple one, just one question. How would you respond to someone who were to say to you, isn't it unfair for employers to judge you off of your social media content?
Okay, as the regional program manager who receives CVs, we have an issue in South Africa where people tend to balloon their CVs. So I think for us, we need to understand that the internet never forgets and anyone has access to that information. And just as people who are planning to hire people, that's just a resource that comes in to say, what type of person am I bringing into my business? Especially for us who are working for a social impact cause. So you might find that bigger businesses, maybe the private sector, the big banks, they might not mind as much. But for us, because we know that we're dealing with a hard business, I need to know that you are talking about, you're doing what you're talking about. And unfortunately, within the NGO space or within the community development space, it's so easy to, like something as simple as social media manager. I don't know why people think that that job, anyone can do it. But like, yeah, me, I can do it. Sis B, I have done a WhatsApp group admin, I'm good. Meanwhile, I'm talking about social media management for an organization that's international. So I stand a chance to lose money if I get someone who I've not researched well. And me being an NGO, I can't afford to lose the money because sometimes it's donor funded, sometimes we need to fundraise, So it's just the times, guys. It's just the times. Just as in the past, you couldn't be a nun that's seen at the tavern. Right now, our social media spaces are that, to say it shows you. That's why we're saying, if you're going to have a private account, you can put whatever you want in your private account. Change the settings to private. I can't Google, I need to send a request to get you so you know it's me and all of that. But what's publicly out there, and I also speak to this when you talk about, you know, your sexting and people sending pictures out there, and we all know what's currently going around with videos and people's company uniform, and I'm like, how are you doing this with your company uniform, you know? The internet does not forget. So just be careful what it is that you put out there, because us millennials, we will Google you. We don't TikTok you, we will Google you and find you in all the other places that you say that you're not. And so just make sure that thing is authentic. It shows what you say you are. All right? Cool.
Amazing. This is very important information, guys. I love what she said about how your social media can impact your future reputation. I think that's very powerful.
Yes. Very
super powerful. So. Anyone else with, come through, brother. Come through. Come through. Can we give him a hand of applause? Please introduce yourself, your name and what you do and things like that. Yes, it's a hectic.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. My name is Kolwani, and my cause is artist development. And I'm a multi-talented creative, to say the least. Yeah, so my question is based on actually what you mentioned about opportunities online for young people. And I'd like to know, how can one manage the process of actually closing an opportunity online?
Closing an opportunity.
Yes, yes.
Also, like getting that opportunity for yourself.
Not necessarily, but more towards trying to, like, closing a deal.
Got
Yes,
you.
like someone approached me.
Yeah.
Or I'm approaching someone.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we're trying to agree on something.
Sure.
So how do you manage that process? Yes,
That's a good question. Yeah. So I like this because I'm talking about the digital space. But in my other hat, a few years ago, I used to be a business development officer. So we really see it linking there. I think one of the things that young people don't do enough is research your partner. I go to the point of stalking you if I am interested in working with you. Remember I said I'm looking for people who are aligned in terms of values, So we just go, oh, I want to work for Coca-Cola, that's nice. But do you know what's currently happening with Coca-Cola? Do you know when their opportunities are coming? Do you know who the CEO is? Do you know what their 5 vision statements are? Do you know what it is that they want to achieve in the next 5 years? Because then that's the information that if you bring to an interview or even a 5-minute elevator pitch, you really stand out if you've researched us. Okay? So a good example is that I told you that I recently had a hiring stream and I had a plethora of young people sending in their CVs. And of them, and I remember my boss going, oh, but I don't think he can do it. There was one young guy, he wanted to be one of our script writers. And all of a sudden we're like, how are you going to write scripts for a young black girl in Alex? How do you even know, But the way that boy had researched us, he knew what our 5-term goal was in the region. He knew what to give answers to if you were looking for salary expectation. He knew that we have a goal of upscaling this year and how he can contribute to that. And that's how you stand out and that's how you close the deal. You make sure that you know everything about the partner that you're going to meet before you meet them, and you anticipate certain questions, but how you answer it is always linked with how you can impact the organization. That's what I want to hear during interviews. Thanks.
Again, very good advice. Do you still want to ask that question? Oh, I wish we had a roaming mic.
Can this one go to him?
Does it reach? Will it reach? We need a mic to reach our brother in the back. Thank you so much. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, I was actually gonna compliment you on this cool mic. This is most deaf. Yeah.
Shout out to the DJ on the decks.
Nice. Yeah. So my question was from an organizational, and I assume it probably caters to individuals as well. That's obviously navigating social media. I feel like these days, so I work at a non-profit organization that functions for the most part. We have a very commercial leg of the business for sustainability reasons. And the commercial part obviously requires a lot of marketing, yeah? And these days you see a lot of, I think you call them Gen Zs now, but anyone between 20 and 25 is very competent with social media or the basics of social media. But I think from a marketing point of view, and this is maybe where you have the expertise, people don't necessarily know how to be effective marketers on social media. So you'll have people that can post content and can generate good content, but you speak to your own market and you don't necessarily speak to a new market, and you don't get the viral, let's say, sort of appeal. So I was going to say, what is the framework or some tips to create content for social media marketers specifically to supersede just your 5,000 followers and, let's say, go viral and reach, 10,000 or whatever the number is?
Damn, I shouldn't have taken this question. Yeah, that is a very good question. And I think that is a question that most organizations struggle with in terms of how do I use social media platforms efficiently and effectively. So one of the laziest things that I see companies do is just to bring in like an influencer or someone who's already famous, and that's just the easiest thing that you could do, like a low-hanging fruit. But for me, I work predominantly in the NGO space, and one of the challenges with us is that not only is the content supposed to reach a lot of people, but we want to see how the impact, what are our success indicators, how many people are consuming the content and then making the physical life-changing post, right? So the first matrix that I would advise you to have is how do you measure impact? And that is different for each and every single organization, right? If you are an NGO, that usually has to do with social impact. If you are a private organization, it can be profit, it could be sales, it could be engagements. There's so many things that you can do online. So that needs to be very clear. How will we track impact? What are our success indicators? The second part to that question would be, what is our intention? So for example, at FAQ Health, in our europeaccount.de, we reached over 500,000 young people. We have millions and millions of likes. We have private deals with organizations such as Netflix, the sex education show, Gillette, and the likes. Here in Southern Africa, our goal is still to build that digital community, yeah? Because we're seeing that just like in Europe, in South Africa, South Africans actually do consume social media as well. But right now, it's more of a slapstick, let's do jokes, challenges. There's nothing much that's happening when we talk about life-changing stuff. And there is where we saw the opportunity, right? So measure up what it is that you want to do, and that then informs your strategy. So for example, if our strategy is to grow the digital community, so things like reach, engagement, how many messages we're getting, how many referrals are getting, those are all the metrics that we're putting to ensure that the content that we're creating leads to such. And sometimes with Gen Zs is that they're just good at creating the clickbait content, right? So it's like, how then do I as a marketer come in where the content does the full-on impact of not just being there, but being there and having some sort of impact as well. And this doesn't just have to be speaking to the NGO world. Also in the private sector. I mean, you're seeing how more and more organizations are now advertising on TikTok. I mean, KFC, which was the Fanta one where we were even complaining like, God, Fanta, stop. Because Fanta just went on with influencers, right? So just read your audience, know what it is, but the biggest point is to have the complete cycle from the content to the impact. Because if it doesn't have the impact, then you're just creating content with no goal at the end. Yeah? Yeah, for more information, I charge for me to develop that log frame.
I was taking notes. Thank you. Thank you so much. And any more questions? We're gonna. Oh, great. Yes. Okay, we're gonna take. Is there anyone else who has a burning question after her? Okay, cool. So this is our last question for the night. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you.
Okay, let me just sign this way.
Come to the front.
Hi, everyone.
Yes.
I'm Lusanda. I work at the Store Breezes, but before this, I was in conference production, hence I'm here for the event. My question is, I used to work in conference production, and LinkedIn was our main source to scout out people to support the cause, because we used to do like infrastructure for Africa, energy in Durban, and things like that. So the social media presence and what we sit down and interview was not the same, because what they post and what they follow and what they support, versus when you sit down, you interview, and you dig into their minds and you realize, okay, you probably just cloud chasing. Does anyone know what cloud chasing is? It's a term that we use. So like, how do you prevent these corporate cloud chasers from such a beautiful cause?
Yeah, good question. Hey, today, you guys are not making it easy, okay? I thought I was just going to speak. Yeah.
You can do
Yeah,
it.
but these are the questions, right? Because it's such a growing space and a growing market that you do have your fly-by-nights. I mean, us in the medical field, we had Dr. Matthew Lani trending, So there's a lot. And unfortunately, social media in South Africa particularly still is yet to develop like the legal grounds on how do you not have a scammer, what do you do if someone takes your sound bites and makes a whole song that trends in the whole of South Africa but you're not getting paid. So there's still quite a gray area, but it is a growing sector. And I think for there, it has to be trial by error. And I think it also goes to you as the organization really digging deep into that person that you're bringing into your space. Because I mean, perfect example with Dr. Matthew Lani, he was even at 702, But at no point did someone go, okay, let's go verify until it happened, and then it happened. So I think onus is on us as businesses to verify who people say who they are. There's also quite a lot of influencers that are just budding up. There's the main influencers, your bonangs that we know, and then there's a whole world of influencers as well. The job there is to find out by doing your research, by stalking them, by hanging out with them, but don't just give out the opportunity. Because unfortunately, those cloud chasers have the potential of ruining your brand and it seeming like you didn't research yourself that much. So yeah, I think the responsibility is ours as organizers, it's ours as business owners to say the face that I'm bringing in to represent my organization is someone that I know, firstly, we said they have communal goals, secondly, they have the same values and ethics, and they are who they say they are. Because it's always so easy to balloon yourself online versus what you see in real life, right? Okay, cool.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bongiwe. Guys, let's give her a final round of applause.
Can I just introduce the video that's happening? Thank you. I need that. All right, so I just want to introduce this video that they're about to play right now. This is just to showcase what we do. Please follow us. We are at FAQYOU.za, FAQYOU.za. And yeah, what we do online is that we provide entertaining content on sexual and health and reproductive and mental health. But more importantly, we have our DMs open for emergencies. So when the dating mjolo is kicking your butt, we are the first people to say, what do I do? This is what's happening. And we'll either refer you to a support group, mental health, but we'll have a reserve of suppliers and service providers who are actually on the ground who do amazing work. This video right now...
Is it for free? The support?
Well, it depends. I mean, there's students that some of them, if you can't afford it, then we have free service providers from public health services, but we'll specifically find one that's A, youth-friendly, and 2, nearest to you, right? Yeah. Cool. So thank you very much for your time. This is one of our campaigns that we did called Update HIV, where we're working on changing the stigma around HIV and AIDS. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is the video ready? If it's not ready, let's play some music. So guys, that was the lovely, the amazing, the knowledgeable, the engaging Bongi Ndlovu. And like she said, you can catch them on at FAQYOU.za or at FAQYOU, you being YOU, .de or www.faq.health if you want more information on that. Thank you so much. Okay, we're just gonna wait. Oh, by the way, let me just say while we wait for the video, tonight we're also graced with an amazing DJ. The first person to come and ask a question, he's actually our entertainment for the night. And so we have, yes, we have the DJ. They call him DJ Ndoromega. I would love to know where that name came from. Ndoromega. DJ Ndoromega in the building. And you can also catch him on social media at Ndoromega, at Ndoromega, or his real name, Facebook, under Klama. Nice, 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 nice. I think we're ready with the video. Let's just have a watch.
Perception of HIV has really numbed. It's almost disappeared, and this is a problem.
It's not missing medication, it is not the missing treatment holding us back, it is stigma.
FAQYOU presents Update HIV, a campaign to update the global perception of HIV, based on a bold idea: change the name, end the stigma.
If you look in the history, that's the problem with stigma. It's deep-rooted in human nature, so it's so hard to fight.
Our campaign began with an open letter calling on the Director General of the WHO to change the name of HIV. He answered, alongside other key politicians, policymakers, and HIV researchers. Our political actions even got the attention of the CDC and the Biden administration, who invited us to discuss launching the campaign in the US. But the campaign wasn't over. Our message travelled around the world, from the WHO to the heart of the global HIV epidemic, to a large-scale installation at one of Africa's largest outdoor events, where we met stigma with love. On the ground and online. But we needed to be bolder. So we took the fear, the hate, the prejudice, and the shame. Decades of HIV stigma, and we set it on fire. Making way for the beginning of something new. With the support of its largest financial contributor, we will officially lobby the WHO to change the name of HIV in 2024.
Amazing, amazing. That was a brilliant. So that was an Africa Burn. Wow, that's amazing. I love that. Update HIV, change the name. I love that. I think this was a great initiative, and I think that's kind of like the same kind of thinking we're thinking of for the menstrual health, is like changing the shame and the stigma about menstrual health. And I think that's a that's a great example of how you can do that. We'll be following for updates to see how you're changing the name of HIV. If you would like to come in, please do. Grab a seat, those who are at the door. We've just finished an amazing talk by Bongi Ndlovu from FAQYOU Health, and now we're going to move on to some music and some dance. Remember, like I said, all the food and drinks are, a percentage of that will go to Viva Con Agua. So if you want to be part of the donations, please do order something to drink or eat. And also, as we mingle, dance, and socialize, we're also hosting a little whiteboard. If you look behind the room, there is a whiteboard there. Please feel free to interact with it. Share your thoughts. There's some questions there. Would love to hear your thoughts. So make sure to grab a marker or a sticker, and we would love to know what you thought about the night and what you thought about the talk. And interact. All those from Viva Con Agua, please raise your hands. We're also in the building, so if you want to chat with any of us as well, please, please, please say hi to us, and we'd love to chat with you. For everyone who has a social cause, please don't forget to mix and mingle and, get some contacts, connect with Bongi, ask questions, do what you gotta do, hustle, whatever, you know what I mean? But I would like to say a big thank you to everyone who organized this, the team, thank you guys. Another big thanks to The Pavement. Thank you, 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 thank you. We're loving this vibe. We are loving it. We'll be back. But yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, so let the music roll. DJ Ndoromega on the deck. Come on. Feel free to dance, guys. I know Bongi was saying no groove, but it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. If you want to dance, it's okay. Looks like we also have some freebies. So feel free to grab our colorful handbands supporting the cause. Water for all for water. Viva Con Agua, South Africa.